Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So I'm actually early today for a change. Makes a change from being late. I was all ready, I've got my tea, and I thought, oh, may as well start early because the longer I wait, normally just as I'm about due to start, that's when chaos ensues when I'm doing a live. So I decided to start a little bit early. I'll probably catch some of you out, but never mind. Um, so yeah, what I'm going to talk about in this video is some information about Jack and Lily Sullivan, who we haven't spoken about for a little while. The last real news that we had about Jack and Lily was the fact that Daniel Martell was arrested, the stepfather, for an unrelated incident for I can't even say the words because last time I did a video about Jack and Lily, it was demonetized by YouTube as usual. You can't say anything, or maybe it's just that they automatically flag up videos about Jack and Lily because they're children. But how do you get information out if they're going to, because don't forget demonetizing. It's not so much the money for the watch, for watching people watching the video, which is probably, you know, tiny amount because unless you get thousands and thousands of views. But also when they demonetize it, they don't put it out there, they don't put it in the algorithm. And that means that less people get to see it in that sense, so the news doesn't circulate the same. Anyway, I've given up with YouTube, but I wanted to talk about them, so I'm going to talk about them. So I'm not going to mention any contentious words. So, yeah, Daniel was arrested, wasn't he, for an unrelated crime against an adult, or several crimes, in fact, against an adult who we're not sure if it is Malaya or not. And he's been released on bail for that, but there's been no arrest made in the Jack and Lily case, of course. Now, yesterday we had some, I suppose we can only call it good news, even though it's very sad, news about Gus Lamont over there in Australia. Now, this case of Jack and Lily, of course, is in Nova Scotia in Canada. But we had some news yesterday that the police, and when I say good news, it's not good news in a way because the police have confirmed that they believe that little Gus, 4-year-old Gus Lamont, is deceased. And they've really, more or less, they haven't named the suspects, but they've made it pretty clear there is his grandparents. He has 2 GMAs because one of his GMAs was a GPAR, but transitioned about 10 years ago. So Josie and Shannon, they've lawyered up separately, apparently, and are said to be devastated that they've been named as suspects in everything but name. And the police made it clear it was not to do with the parents, with Gus's parents, so it only leaves the grandparents. So when I call it good news, obviously it's not good news to have confirmed what we've always felt, that little Gus is deceased. But it's good news that it seems like the police are on towards justice, hopefully, for Gus. So we would like really similar sort of movement, wouldn't we? In this case, well, what we'd really want is for Jack and Lily to be found safe and well. Again, this is a case of missing children who can't look after themselves. So unless they've actually been abducted by somebody, they have to have shuffled off them, or they have to be deceased because they can't have looked after themselves. A 6-year-old, a 4-year-old can't have looked after themselves since I think it was May last year. We're coming up to a year now in this case of Jack and Lily. So, are the police on us? Have they got a suspect in mind? Is Daniel, when I first started covering this case, I was trying my very best not to automatically jump to the conclusion that Daniel had something to do with it, 'cause he's the stepfather. It's the usual suspect, isn't it, in the case of children, harm coming to children. Step parents are normally sort of looked at sideways. But the longer this goes on, I have to say allegedly, but I'm about as sure as I can be that Daniel has got something to do with the disappearance of Jack and Lilly. What exactly, I don't know. And you know what, if I'm wrong, I'm very sorry. I'm so sorry. But just this overwhelming feeling, and it's just a question of evidence, isn't it? So what we're going to look at in this video about Jack and Lilly, we're going to look at an interview that the person in charge of the investigation did. And oh my God, how to watch an interview, somebody to say a lot, but really say nothing. Very clever how he manages to answer all the journalists' questions without really giving anything away. But having said that, but I do think there are some telling things that he does say in this interview. We're going to look at an interview that Daniel made. So we're going to look at a few things. As I say, no new developments here with Jack and Lilly. So, I'm not a clickbaiter. I'm not going to tell you that we're going to look at the friends of Malaya talking about, the case and what the family was like, etc. Now, the other thing that from covering this from all this time and all the different things, that I don't believe that Malaya has got anything to do with the disappearance of Jack and Lilly. I think she, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, we've all got our opinions, I think she knows that Daniel has done it. Either knows because she's seen something or he said something, or just strongly suspects because of things that we don't know about. And I think that's the reason that Malaya left the next day with Meadow. She suspects Daniel. She cut off all contact with Daniel. And now these things are coming out about domestic abuse in the home, etc. I think she's terrified of Daniel. But unfortunately, her children have paid the price for her living with this man, I personally think. So, but we'll see. The police detective, you'll see, he says he's confident that it will get resolved. So we'll see what he has to say, and you'll, of course, will let me know what you think. So let me just first of all say thank you to everybody. I want to say thank you to all of you who watch, like, subscribe. Thank you. I appreciate every bit of positive support you give my channel. Special thank you to my members. We didn't have a members live last night for the simple reason I had to go and pick up number one son, and it meant the time was right in the middle when I would normally have done the members live. So I would have had to do it either very early or very late, neither of which really. So I postponed it till tonight. So tonight I will be doing a live, the members live, but I thought what I might do is do about an hour of members only and then change it to an open live, see what developments we can talk about, because of course there's quite a few cases that seem like they might break at any time. The kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie. I'm just waiting as well for the arrests in the Gus Lamont case. I think they won't be far behind. There's quite a few sort of things to talk about. So I thought what I might do is do the members live, do an hour as we normally do. We normally do more than that, to be honest. They're members live, and then we'll come on and talk about some other things, maybe in a pub. But we'll see. That's a long way off, isn't it? But definitely the members live will be tonight. What else do? Oh, thank you to everyone who sent me a Ko-fi, bought me a Ko-fi, sent me a super sticker, other donations that people have made towards the new computer fund. Thank you so much. I've got to sit down and add it all up and work out where I am with it. And also, yeah, I need a new computer. So anyway, we're doing okay with the laptop. It's working okay. It's only when I try and stream things on it, because the internet is so slow on it. Well, the whole computer is slow. Anyway, it's at least it's usable. Where else? Okay, so hello, you lovely lurkers. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Jack and Lily. And all the other people that we talk about. The victims are the most important thing, aren't they? And thank you to Replay Crew. Hello, and thanks for watching. And hi, Julie. I'm just looking. There's only been Julie in the chat so far. Good morning to you. Yes, happy Friday. It's Friday. Yeah. For those of you who look forward to Fridays. Another Friday. These weeks roll past so quickly, don't they? And that's, can you believe it's been almost a year? I mean, it's not quite a year, but not far off a year since Jack and Lily went missing. Poor Jack and Lily. Just can't feel like you want to have hope, but it's difficult to have hope. Hi, Daniel. Happy Friday to you. It's very difficult to have hope after all this time. Unless, as I say, they've been abducted and somebody's keeping them safe somewhere. But anyway, so I think what we'll start off with is hi, Lily. Good morning. What we'll start off with is this interview with the he's not a sheriff, is he? They don't call them sheriffs in the Canadian the investigator. Before we go on there, yeah, I don't think they're sheriffs, but he's I'm quite partial to a sheriff. This guy, I quite like him. Don't know what it is about him. He's very laid back. Maybe too laid back in a way, because sorry, I've got to share it. Maybe he's too laid back. Some people might say that, but you want your law enforcement to be a little laid back. You don't want them to be hysterical, do you? I find him like quite sort of comforting. He just strikes me as someone who'd look after you. I don't know. I'm so desperate for someone to look after me. Because I've got a bit of a cold as well, feeling a bit sorry for myself. Yeah, I don't know. I like him. Is he too laid back? Just yeah. So, I mean, we're going to listen to what he's got to say. This interviewer tries her very best to get information out of him, about this case. And as I say, I think he did a very good job of saying an awful lot without really saying anything very significant. He just sort of says what he needs to. He virtually keeps just repeat, basically what he's saying all the time is, I can't say anything. So it did make me feel like, I don't know. Well, you let me know what you feel. But when I listened to it, I thought, Daniel's done this. This is how it felt to me. But I could be wrong. And I'm so sorry if I am wrong. That's how it feels to me at the moment.
and the work we're doing and the information we gather, we will find out what happened with Jack and Lilly.
Staff Sergeant came in with the case of Jack and Lilly. What's the latest?
We continue to gather information, review that, and look for more opportunities. We continue to take in tips from the public and to review and move forward.
Is this case criminal?
Right now, we're gathering all the information. Once we have all the information necessary, we'll make decisions on any criminality that may be relevant to the case.
Are you treating this as criminal?
Again, we gather all of our information in any of these situations to a...
Now, do you see it? She keeps asking him the same question, but in a different way, and he keeps answering it the same, but in a different way. So she's this woman who, she's a very good reporter. She's the one that has interviewed Daniel as well. She's trying her best to get him to say that they're looking on it as criminal, but he doesn't give in. Do you know what I mean? He's like, and of course he can't. I mean, it is sometimes a bit frustrating with reporters, I find. I know that's their job, to try and get illicit information. But, you know, he's not going to say it's criminal before he's got the right evidence, is he? So there's quite a bit of waffle and word salad from him. But you just get the feeling that he feels that something is going to break. Well, anyway, tell me what you think.
Judicial standard in case there is information that identifies criminality. And that is part of our job, is to gather all the information so that we can make good decisions with it.
Can you explain how that works under the Missing Persons Act?
Well, basically, the Missing Persons Act gives us the ability to get the judicial authorization to pursue different, more private information that we can then gather to review for any tips or leads to directions to go to find more information.
The children's stepfather, Dan, has indicated that he had sample skin. Why not?
It was time to collect that information, of course.
That's interesting, isn't it? So yeah, he said they've taken his DNA. We're going to listen to him talking about that in a moment. And he said, oh, well, it was the appropriate time. You know, he's like, which is odd, really, isn't it? Because you'd think when a child goes missing, or children in this case, in mysterious circumstances, wouldn't you take the DNA immediately? But anyway, obviously not. So, yeah. Now, Daniel, of course, the stepfather, Daniel Martel, that we just saw there with his red trainers, initially he was very vociferous, wasn't he? He was being interviewed. He was on YouTube channels. He's gone very quiet since he was arrested for... well, I'm not going to say what he was arrested for because YouTube will just jump on it straight away. But on offences against a woman, let's say, he's gone very quiet since then. He hasn't been on any YouTube channels or made any comments, has he? So, yeah.
Sometimes DNA doesn't necessarily, not because anybody's a suspect, but to maybe we may find DNA in places where we expect it to be found, and we need to be able to eliminate people. So it's something that we do, especially in missing persons cases, that to collect that information, make sure it's safeguarded.
Are any of the children's family members considered suspects in this case?
I wouldn't say anybody's a suspect. Again, we continue to gather information and whatever evidence that we are able to find, and we'll make our decisions based on that. But we are not in a position to really comment on suspects or anything like that at this time.
Do you have suspects?
Again, we're working the investigation. I can't comment in detail on where we're going.
You know, she keeps trying, doesn't she? You know, does anyone a suspect? He goes through all that spiel of why they haven't got any suspect, and then she practically asks the same question again. He has to go through it all again, but he's very calm, isn't he? He just sit, you know, he gives you that sort of feeling of calmness, this guy, and I'm sure there's a lot going on behind the surface. You know, and this case has always been similar to me to Gus Lamont's case. You know, children going missing from a remote dwelling, if you like, mysterious boot prints found, and you know, oh yeah, we saw the children or heard the children in the morning, and then the next minute they were gone. You know, so it's a sort of similar case. I think it's going to have a similar result. I think the answers to what happened to Jack and Lily are very close to home. I think this man knows what he thinks happened to Jack and Lily. But yeah, first thing they've got in mind, of course, is possible prosecutions. You know, if he wants to if something untoward has happened to Jack and Lily, and if Daniel's done it or whoever's done it, you know, it's got to go to court, hasn't it? So he's got to make sure everything is done correctly.
Have to maintain any integrity of the work we're doing. Anybody in the public who has information that can help us with this are asked to please engage with us and pass that information along so that we can work with it.
What do you think happened here?
Again, I'm not going to comment on what I think. As a professional investigator, we have to base our direction on evidence and information. So I'm not here to comment on my thoughts, and I'll allow the information we gather to make those decisions.
From the beginning, RCMP has maintained that this was not an abduction. The families believe that it could have been an abduction. Do you think that that's a possibility here?
Well, if that were something that took place, we will gather the information, we will pursue that, and we will pursue any charges related to anything like that took place. However, again, we don't have any direct evidence of an abduction or anything like that at this time.
So you're not pursuing the investigative avenue of an abduction?
We will look at all avenues of investigation. I'm just, you know, that's not evidence or information that we have directly at this time.
Why not?
Well, there could be a number of reasons for that. We may not have found that information yet. There could be a member of the public out there that has a key piece of knowledge that we haven't managed to bring forward yet. May not have been an abduction. So there may not be evidence out there to gather. Again, that's why we have to let the information we gather dictate our decisions and direction.
The families say that on May 2nd, they were told by an RCMP member on scene that an Amber Alert would be issued, and that did not happen. Why not? I
can't comment on the commentary that may have happened between a member and the family at the scene. But when it comes to the Amber Alert, the criteria for an Amber Alert wasn't met. We didn't have the necessary pre-qualifiers to issue an Amber Alert. However, we did issue vulnerable persons alerts related to the disappearance of Jack and Lily, and that was the appropriate.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that. You said they didn't have the necessary, you know, it didn't fit the necessary criteria for an Amber Alert. So.
Kind of direction with the information we had at the time.
Looking back, was that the right call?
Yeah.
Have mistakes been made in the handling of this case?
I'm very confident in the work that the RCMP's done on this case, from the initial response that was within really minutes, and people on the ground searching property within a couple of hours, and the continued investigative effort by the investigators. I'm very confident in the work we've done. No, I don't believe.
Yeah, I think that's a very difficult question, isn't it, to ask, have mistakes been made? Because you can only see that with the benefit of hindsight. You know, when you first get a call from somebody saying, oh, the children were here 1 minute and then they were gone, I suppose you should always look on it as suspicious from the get-go. But you're also dealing with distraught family members. I'm sure Malaya and then the other people that turned up, you know, her mom and the Belinda and the paternal grandma. You're sort of dealing with all these emotions, and you know, you can't start accusing people immediately, can you? You've got to gather the evidence first of all, and then as time goes on, and if you suddenly, as a police person, you suddenly start thinking, oh, hang on a minute, something's just not adding up here, you know. But you can't write from the get-go when somebody phones up the police and they're hysterical because their children have gone missing. Can't stop throwing out accusations, immediately. So, yeah, you can look back now. Maybe there were things that they could have done quicker or better, or there always will be, though, won't they? So I think it's quite an unfair question. But he is like adamant. No, I don't think we did anything wrong. He's sticking up for his team. Only they know what's going on behind the scenes, and nobody will want to find these children more than the police, or well, apart from the family, of course. Same with Gus Lamont, and these police officers, search teams, etc. They've got children too. They don't want to think of these children being out there. It's not that they stop caring about finding them. Time goes on, and sometimes they feel like they're not getting anywhere, but they still care.
If we've made any huge mistakes and we continue to put effort in to try and resolve what's happened with Jack and Lilly, I'm not confident in the work the RCMP's put into this file.
What's taking so long?
Well, the sheer volume of information that's come in is a big part. And, investigations like this take time. We've had over 8,000 videos that we've had to review and go through. We've had over 1,000 tips from the public, and each one of those tips have to be reviewed in detail and steps taken to ascertain the veracity or whether they're accurate or not. And that all takes time, and you have to do it thoroughly and you have to document it properly. So larger investigations, they take a lot of time to do. And we have to take these steps and make sure we get our everything in a row properly to move forward.
At this point, do you think those children are still in the woods?
¿Pensando en elegir un plan para ahorrar con Iberdrola? Sube tu última factura a nuestra web y te ayudaremos a descubrir el mejor plan para ti.
Yeah.
We've done an extensive ground.
Now, this was an interesting question, I thought. Now, I notice as well he's shaking his head. She's asked him, do you think those children are still in the woods? And as he's answering, he's shaking his head. He doesn't think they're in the woods. And then he does go on to say, we've done an extensive search and blah, 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 blah. So basically, he is saying, no, I don't think they're in the woods. But he does put the caveat at the end of it. But, anything's possible. Because at the end of the day, they don't know, do they? I think let's just sort of wind back a little bit. If Daniel is responsible for killing these children, where are they? And this is what the police will be going through, because he didn't have much time to get rid of them, did he? Get rid of their poor little bodies. If he did, because I'm just going on a hypothesis here. I don't know that he did. He didn't have a lot of time to do it, so he can't have gone that far, can he? But then, of course, in the first instance, those children might have been in his truck. I don't know how quick it was before they took his car away, or he could have easily put them somewhere and then moved them again. These are children. These are easy to carry. They're not like adult bodies that are more difficult to get rid of. And I do think, how did they both die? If that's what happened, was this some sort of accident, or did he deliberately kill them, or did he kill one by accident and the other one got so upset he had to do something? You can't imagine, can you, that somebody would kill two lovely little children like that? But people do it. Unfortunately, do you know what? Every day people do horrible things to children. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? The Epstein files has taught us that. I mean, the absolute depravity of some people. And, it's just a question, is Daniel one of those people? Is it possible that he killed these children? But yeah, watch this guy now. He does, as he's answering this question, he's shaking his head. I think he's pretty convinced they are not in the woods.
Using all technology that could be available to us, including drones and penetrating radar for the ground. We've had human remains detection dogs out there, and our ground search and rescue volunteers covered extensively the area around where the children were missing. So I think the chances are low. However, there's always that possibility that they may be in an area that just we haven't been able to find them. It does happen. It's happened. So I would say that the chances are there is a slight potential they're still in the woods, but we're following up on every lead we can to try and ascertain that.
So if they're not in the woods, where could they be?
Well, again, that's that is the main goal of what we're trying to accomplish, to find out what happened with Jack and Lilly.
The court documents suggest that RCMP are using technology-based techniques. What does that mean?
Basically, we're looking at whatever technology is out there to assist us with our work, whether that be during the search phase with the drones and the side scanning lidar and radar, or whether that's through the use of different analysis products or other tech options, whether it be the use of video review programs that do things more efficiently, which we have done. You know, there's just looking at different ways to do our jobs more efficiently and to gather the most evidence possible.
In the early hours of May 2nd.
So, what you're saying there, Marg, discuss the mother by all means. In some ways, she is complicit, whatever, because she lived in that household with this man, exposed her children to this man who, you know, to all intents and purposes, little Jack had black eyes at school and things like that. And Malaya, you know, she stayed there in that house. She should have been gone from there a long time ago. I know it's not easy, but, you know, I'm sure he went out. Sometimes she could have, you know, I think she could have gone to her mum, surely, with the kids. That's what she did in the end. That's what she did the day after these two little mites went missing. She was gone from that property. So could she not have done that before? So that's something that, but, you know, we don't know the full circumstances. You know, there's always financial things. Coercive control is a very powerful thing, isn't it? You know, we just don't know if she was scared or if he would come and find her. Or, I mean, now, but the baby, Meadow, their mutual baby, she is in social services care now. She's not with either of the parents, and they're getting supervised access, aren't they, to Meadow, who luckily is only very young and hopefully won't remember all this crap when they grow older. And of course, Daniel has got two other children by a previous relationship. You know, if you look on his Facebook, he's all, you know, it's all about the children and, you know, but we know from experience that social media posts mean absolutely nothing when it comes to the reality of what's happening in people's lives. You know, you see these social media posts and everything all looks happy and harmonious. And there can be the worst kinds of things going on behind the scenes, can't there? And we have to remember, you know, I'm just giving out my opinion now on Daniel, and maybe there's a part of me doesn't like to believe that Malaya could be involved in it, but I do think that Malaya knows one way or another, or suspects that Daniel is involved, and that's why she's done her runner. So she's obviously cooperating with the police, because now these things, that separate arrest happening, you know, forcible confinement by Daniel and other things against an adult woman, which we presume is Malaya. So she's cooperating with the police. What would you know, the thing is, if Malaya I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It could be that she witnessed it happen. She's too scared to talk. Or it could even be that she has spoken about it. But the thing is that you have to remember, even if Malaya had turned around to the police and said, yes, Daniel killed those children, that's only her word against his. They still need evidence, because it could be that Malaya's saying, oh, yeah, Daniel killed the children, but really it was Malaya who did it. So that still would not necessarily mean an automatic arrest just because Malaya said he had. The police need their evidence, and that's what they'll be accumulating, of course. And electronic evidence does take time, doesn't it, to get together, but the most important thing is to find out where Jack and Lily are, whether they're deceased or whether they're alive. It'd be difficult for the potential prosecution to move on without even knowing where they are, because what they're going to charge him with. Because if they charge him with murder, but there's no bodies, is there? So, and even it's interesting to note that even in the Gus Lamont case, that they have declared it a major crime and said they've got suspects, nobody's been arrested or charged yet. So, and of course, Gus hasn't been found yet.
And we know from the court documents that 2 people in the area heard a vehicle coming and going. What can you tell me about that? Is that substantial evidence here?
We have followed up on all those areas, and we're confident in the information we've gathered, but I don't really have any direct comment about that situation.
Now, I thought that was really interesting what he said there, because when these neighbours came out and said that they'd heard the car driving, and one said it was definitely Daniel, driving around and in that night when the kids went missing. Didn't the police originally come out and say, I can't remember exactly how they put it, they said they had no confirmation, they had no evidence that was true. But I do feel here he's definitely not saying that it's not true, but he's not saying anything. He's just saying it's almost like it could be true or it might not be true. But he's also not, I'll just put it back a bit, he's also not saying it's not true. So the thing is, you think, well, who's lying? Daniel says he didn't go in the car at all that evening. He never moved the car again. You've got these neighbours, 2 neighbours, saying that they heard a car driving around, one of which saying, yes, it was Daniel. But then don't forget, also living on that property is his mum, Janie, and his brother. I mean, his brother's very rarely mentioned. But wasn't his brother living there as well at the time? So, I've never seen his brother or picture or seen him being interviewed. It does. Surely on that property, if Daniel was driving around in the middle of the night, wouldn't Janie hear it? She only lives over the, in a caravan over the way. Can't believe that nobody on the property would have heard it, or even that Malaya wouldn't have heard it.
We're confident in the information we've gathered, but I don't really have any direct comment about that situation. It's part of our investigation, and we'll continue on with that.
So you're not saying that it's not relevant?
Obviously, it's something that happened in the area the morning that the 2 kids went missing. We have to consider that a relevant thing to follow up with and look into, but I'm not.
Yeah, he said it's something that happened. He didn't say it's something that allegedly happened, or it's something that the neighbours reported happening. He said it's something that happened. So I know he's trying to be cagey, and he's got to be, because we're looking, and that even makes it more likely to me that this is going to lead to criminal prosecutions. Because if they genuinely thought the parents had nothing to do with the disappearance of Jack and Lily, and it was literally them wandering off, he wouldn't have to be so careful, would he? You know, there's that as well.
Not suggesting that's creating us to consider criminal action or anything like that.
Approach the 1-year mark, is there any sense that this could become a cold case at this point?
I can't really comment on that. The information and investigative work will dictate that. As far as I'm concerned, it's not going to be a cold case. This is a case that needs to be solved. So we will pursue every avenue available to us to ascertain what happened with Jack and Lilly.
So as of right now, it remains very active.
Very active. Very active. Yeah.
Very active.
Do you think this will be solved in the near future?
I hesitate to put any timelines because, as I said, this is a large investigation, and this, as you've identified, there's a lot to it. It's not an everyday kind of file that's fairly simple and straightforward. So I hate to put a timeline on it, but I believe that with hard work and the work we're doing and the information we're gathering, we will find out what happened with Jack and Lilly.
So there you go. Let's just put that window down. That's what he says. He says we will find out what happened to Jack. Just put some windows down. So, yeah, he says he thinks they're going to find out what happened to Lilly, Jack and Lilly. I do feel that was definitely a masterclass in how to say a lot without actually saying anything. You know, he's probably a master in avoiding answering questions that might compromise an investigation. Though I do think, you know, you've got to remember as well, they're probably not used to, you know, he's a detective. They're not used to being all over the media with every single case that come, you know, there's lots of cases, they're dealing with cases every day, not just Jack and Lilly, that don't get this media attention. Suddenly you're thrust into the media spotlight and you've got to navigate your way around it without compromising the case, isn't it? So, yeah, I thought he did quite well, actually. I like him. He's my new sheriff. I do like a sheriff. Well, he's not a sheriff, but you know what I mean. So I feel that it will get solved. I do feel it will get solved. Now, let's have a look at what. So don't forget to like this video, share, subscribe. I should remind people more often. Just points. I need to bring. Oh God, what was that bloody bot thing back? I need to bring the bot thing back, but it kept banning people, didn't it? What was it? What was it called? That Nightbot or whatever that is supposed to just come up and remind people to share and like and, you know, that kind of thing, and it kept banning people. So I've not had Nightbot on for ages. I need to bring it back. It'd be funny if nothing else. Yeah, Nightbot, it banned you, didn't it, David? Got rid of you pretty quick. It's just great. Do you know what? Technology, I know it's great and all that, but it never does what you want it to, does it? Okay, let's bring Nightbot back. Yeah, I might have a look at that over the weekend. I don't even know why he went. I don't think I did. I must have taken him off. I don't know. I don't. He never worked properly anyway. You just can't get the staff these days. Okay, now we're going to look at Daniel. Now, Daniel Martell, the stepfather. You know, yeah, you know, I'm definitely going down the line with him. There's just something about this guy right from the beginning, because he just seemed to be enjoying it too much. He was absolutely loving it when he passed the lie detector test. It's like, oh, I'll take more lie detector tests. He seemed to be enjoying his, 5 minutes of fame, like too much, you know. I don't know. You should be heartbroken. Even if you even though they weren't his biological children, they'd lived with him for a couple of years. So I don't know. I thought he would be more heartbroken than he was. But who knows? And I could be complete. I'm so sorry if it ends up he has had nothing to do with it. I'll be the first to apologise. But it's taken me a while to get here. I've tried my very best not to prejudge Daniel. But yeah, I sort of run out of that now. But anyway, let's have a look at his interview. So he said, where is it? So he has said he believes that their disappearance is criminal. That's what he said. But what does he mean? Criminal in what way? Does he mean they've been killed? Does he mean they've been abducted? What does he mean when he says criminal? I just got to wait for this silly advert. Well, there's a lot of criminal can mean all sorts of things. Does he mean criminal as in abducted by their mother? Or arranged abduction, or we just don't know what he means. But let's see him being interviewed. Why is it not going full screen? Get the sound up. Well, goes full screen for some reason.
Is my blood was taken or drawn, and they got a few drops of my blood for that, to check my.
Back to the beginning. I'm trying to get it on full screen, but it won't go on full screen. This stupid computer just doesn't work properly. Anyway, you should be able to see it now, and in a minute when it stops bloody whirring, you should be able to hear it. But it won't go on full screen.
Okay, Daniel. So what's the latest with this case?
I think we're gonna have to dive into some questions so I can, really try to answer that, because there's so much. But what I can say is my blood was taken or drawn, and they got a few drops of my blood for that, to check my DNA, because my DNA is obviously going to be on the blanket. But I can't really disclose, and I'm.
So his blood was taken or drawn. They got a few drops of blood to check on the blanket, because this blanket was mysterious, wasn't it? A piece of Lily's blanket that was found. It was planted, I think.
Pretty limited on what I know about the blanket at this moment, but I can say, with the DNA collection, it's something's definitely proceeding forward with that.
How did that go when they took your sample? Did they take you into the station?
Yeah, it was done at the station. An investigator did it. They have an applicator, which, they hit the end of your finger with it, just like you were testing for your blood sugar. Just, pinch the end of your finger, and I had to squeeze for 20 minutes to get some blood out. But after we get those 4 drops out, it goes onto a little pad, and it's put in a envelope and then plastic bag, and then sealed up for evidence.
Do you know of anyone else who had their sample taken?
No. I was never disclosed any of that.
Yeah.
Nor do I ask, because I know I would not get an answer in return.
Right. You've been asking questions.
Yeah, I ask a lot of questions. Sometimes they can't answer.
And was that voluntary, or did they?
That was 100% voluntary. No, they never have to get a warrant to do anything. I'm always cooperative. Just like in the past, I keep asking them, do you want my phone? Do you want me to do more polygraphs? Like I'm open to everything. And I always tell them that. They say, Daniel, no, we don't need your phone. Daniel, no, it's not necessary to do any more polygraphs. So at this point, I'm very cooperative, you know. And when they did up the paper for consent on my DNA, you know, they fill in the paper, you know, May 2nd, missing persons case for Jack and Lilly, and then involvement, no criminal involvement, and they checked the box for no criminal involvement. And I put my signature on it, and there was my consent.
How did you feel when you saw that box was checked?
Very happy. But I've known for, you know, since the start that I'm 100% innocent.
Yeah.
But to see investigators say that to me before, but then also, you know.
Yeah, so he says, I've known from the start I'm 100% innocent. And in a moment he says, I know I didn't murder Jack and Lilly. Well, nobody was talking about murder. They're supposed to have wandered off into the woods. So where does it get the murder from?
See it visually with my own eyes, it was a big thing.
So it's your understanding you believe that RCMP do not consider you a suspect?
I'd say 100% I'm not considered as a suspect at this point.
Why is that?
I mean, from that box being checked, but we can also go back to when I had my polygraph exam. When we went over the questions beforehand, all the questions were on death, right? So they concluded that by the end of it, I was truthful with all my questions or all my answers. So I didn't have anything to do with the murder of Lilly and Jack. And there was no questions on the disappearance or abduction or kidnapping or anything of that nature. So that leaves me with, I didn't murder the kids. I have nothing to do with the disappearance because they did not ask any questions on that.
And so you mentioned that in the polygraph, they didn't ask you about the disappearance and whether you had anything to do with it. But I'm going to ask, did you have anything to do with the disappearance of Jack and Lilly?
No.
Did you kill them?
No.
What do you think happened to them?
Everyone thought I had some sort of skin tightening treatment. Even my daughter asked if I'd finally tried Botox.
Skip.
At this point, I'm completely just not sure. I mean, I've thrown speculation out in the past and, you know, narratives that I think, you know, or theories that, you know, what I think may have happened. But at this point, I have to just go with what the RCMP say because they have so much information, they have more resources, and they're the ones that are fully invested in this case. They have the, you know, intellect and professional training to do what they do. It's been 8 months, and I know a lot of people think that, you know, the kids are not alive anymore, but I hold out hope 100%. I'll always hold out hope every day because there's no reason not to.
Do you think it's criminal?
Yes. But it will not pivot to a criminal.
You know, just don't. I don't. So you said in one breath, you hold on to hope every day that the children are alive. But then when she asked him if it was criminal, do you think it's criminal? He said yes. So criminal in what sense? Like criminal that's been abducted, or does he still think? Because originally he thought that Malaya had arranged for them to be abducted. Or after, I mean, there's always a possibility that they can be have been abducted by neighbours. You know, that's all. It may be that Daniel has got nothing to do with it. If Jack and Lilly were roundabout, you know, wandering around, you know, there are, or even though where Jack and Lilly and Daniel, etc., lived is remote, it's not as remote like where Gus Lamont went missing, where it's impossible that anyone could have abducted Gus at the end of the day. It's just impossible. But it wouldn't be impossible in this situation. The road was not far away. It could be that they walked along the road, someone picked them up in a car. It could be one of the neighbours, you know, they wandered onto one of the neighbours' property, or that they were lured onto the, you know, these are possibilities. I mean, the police know more about that than we do. So yeah, you know, and we can only hope that they are still alive if they have been abducted they could be still alive. You know, it does happen, though not very often, of course, but it does happen. Children get abducted and are found sometimes many years later.
Case or a criminal investigation from a missing persons until they have a suspect and they're going to be investigated and then, you know, formally charged.
Do you get any sense from RCMP that they believe this is criminal?
Yes, but they don't openly share that or talk about that concept with me. That's pretty limited. They use as many, use the least amount of words they can to convey what they're trying to get across or questions, or it's usually me who tries to dive in depth with them, but
yeah, I bet.
You know, they're
it's just now again, allegedly, I've got to be careful because I don't know that Daniel has had anything to do with Lilly and Jack disappearing. But yeah, quite often this is exactly what people who are guilty do. They inveigle themselves into the investigation because they're trying to find out, they're trying to get an idea if the police do know anything. And what I said in the chat earlier reminds me a lot of Ian Huntley when he's talking it's Ian Huntley was there volunteering to be interviewed by journalists, and he all the time it was him who'd killed those two little girls, Holly and Jessica. He was hiding that big secret. And she was another one, his girlfriend. God, I can't remember her name now, but she's out free. And, I think she knew about those two girls were dead. And sometimes people who are guilty, they do try and get too far into the investigation because they're trying to ascertain what do they know, what do the police know. Because, I'm just trying to think, like, if it was, you would want to know. I mean, at the end of the day, anyone who, he is the stepfather, one way or another. I mean, he lived with those kids for a couple of years. So he's bound to be interested in what's happened to them. But the police know this anyway, don't they? Nobody knows this better than the police. You don't have to teach your grandmother to suck eggs or whatever that. The police know. They'll get a feeling. Police work a lot on intuition. They need evidence to make a case, but a lot of what they do, you talk about hunches and intuition. These are not police intuition. It's not something that just happens, from one day to the next. Detectives who've had maybe 20 years of experience in prosecuting cases or, finding perpetrators, they learn from experience. They learn who's telling the truth and who isn't, even if they can't prove it. I bet there's loads of detectives out there. How many times will it be that they know somebody has done something, but they just don't have the evidence? Because you can't stand up in court and say, oh, well, it's my spidey sense tells me that this person is the perpetrator. You've got to say, well, it's because of this evidence, that evidence, and the other evidence. But, if you ever watch programs about detectives and that, there's often cases that they just can't let go because they know the person has done it, but they can't pin them down evidence-wise. And somebody actually, as say, inveigling themselves into investigations unnecessarily is a red flag straight away, isn't it?
pretty tight-lipped on everything, and they should be.
How many times have they officially interviewed you?
Formally interviewed. The very first one was about 4 hours, and since then, I'd say about maybe 5 times. I don't know the count exactly, but probably around 5 times.
And when was the latest one?
The latest one would have been, that would have been on the blanket. So, and the actual formal interview for that wasn't very long. That was probably about 20 minutes. but the amount of time I spend with them is a lot because we go over a lot. It's just me asking questions and how can I help them, and so it's usually like an hour and a half to 2 hours. I only plan on being there for 20 minutes or whatever they have to do with me, but it's just like we just keep talking.
And so when you say interviews, that would be recorded on the record interrogations.
Yeah, that's the audio recordings.
Believe it or not, I will draw the person you will marry. One of my clients asked, she thought the man I sketched looked like her neighbor, but it turned out he was her soulmate.
These adverts are ridiculous.
There have been allegations from Malaya's friends and family that you were abusive to her. Were you?
No.
Yeah.
They said that.
Now that's a lie right there. You can see that. I'm sorry, you can see that clearly. Look at his eyes. He's lying there. Now, the only thing I think, why did Malaya stay with him if he was abusive? But you know that women do, men do. You know, who knows what the reasons are? But I think you get a little bit of the sense of the real Daniel there because his steely eyes, you know, all this helpfulness and everything is sort of gone, and he's looking at this woman as if he hates her. You wouldn't want that face looking at you, would you, when he was angry?
When she moved in with you, she cut off all contact with them and you monitored her phone.
She also monitored mine. We both had the same passwords on her phone. And her friends, she blocked her friends on my phone and she blocked them on her own phone.
So how would you describe your relationship before the children?
Why would she block her friends? You know, I wonder, and he says she did it, but he had her PIN number, she had his PIN number. How do we know who blocked her friends? Why would she block her friends?
Yes. I don't really want to talk on that because I don't really want to talk on too much to do with Malaya. It's best that we don't.
Okay. And so you mentioned that there were some accusations about your past drug use. I've read some things about it being drug use that week, the week the children went missing. Is there any truth to that?
No, I didn't have any drugs. And Major Crimes knows that. Or they would have, you know, charged me with possession of drugs or drug paraphernalia. There was nothing at the house. So, and they know that.
Yeah, nothing at the house. Funny that, isn't it? So not even a bit of weed or anything, Daniel. So when he was out and about and getting rid of whatever he was getting rid of, were some of the things he was getting rid of drug paraphernalia? I mean, he has had a drug problem. So you would think that there'd be something in the house, would you? I don't know, even if he was he said he hadn't had any drugs that week. I don't know. I expect there's a lot of people out there that if the police suddenly descended on your doorstep, they might find a little bit of marijuana, or you might find a rap from some Charlie. So, you know, they might find something. Maybe you're not a raging drug addict, but, you know, people take recreational drugs, don't they? And this is a man who has had a drug problem. So there was nothing in his house. That's almost suspicious in itself, isn't it? It's like going to an alcoholic's house and not finding any bottles or not finding any alcohol because it's been hidden so well.
What is your history in terms of the drug use? What would you like to share, just to clear the air?
I did not have any drugs. People thought I was doing drugs during the search. Absolutely not. I don't owe any drug dealers money. I don't owe anyone drugs. I'm not a drug dealer. I don't manufacture drugs. I can't really speak on anything more than that, I
Those
guess.
have been all the accusations
Yeah.
made at you.
That I have, you know, manufactured drugs, sell them. I give them to people to sell. It's
There's
crazy.
no drug party that night.
No, there was no drug party. There was no leaving during the middle of the night.
Yeah.
When we pulled into the yard on Thursday afternoon, it would have been about 3:50 or just right before 4 o'clock. The vehicle did not move till the next morning.
Yeah, you know, it's weird this, isn't it? Because he's saying the vehicle didn't move till the next morning. Those neighbours said they heard him driving up and down. But if he did move, surely his mum would have noticed or heard, or Malaya would have noticed or heard, and maybe she has told the police that. You know, maybe the police do know that he was out and about, but they've got but how difficult can it be? How far can he have gone? How difficult can it be to find where he went? Though I presume if he didn't take his phone with him, it's difficult then, isn't it, to find out where somebody went, unless you've got some sort of, you know, electronic device on the car, like a sat nav or whatever. I expect that's what the police are all looking at. Do you think Daniel, you know, do you think he's sort of like every day he doesn't know if, you know, he's going to get arrested or whatever? He looks nervous, doesn't he? I wonder what he thought when they turned up at his house to arrest him for the separate incident against an adult female. I bet he absolutely crapped himself. You know, like it. That he's been very quiet since then. But anyway,
Until I got in it and went searching for Lilly and Jack that morning when Malay was on dispatch or contacted dispatch.
How have all of these allegations impacted you?
At the start, it didn't bother me because they're obviously all not true. You know, basically anyone can just go on there and say whatever they want without any recourse at all.
50 euros en Amazon son para ti con el plan estable de Iberdrola. Sí, sí, para ti. Ahorra con el mismo precio por la luz las 20.
And over time, you know, it started to get to me because it's just constant, right? I tried to keep up on it all and tried to, you know, tell everyone the truth and correct everyone, but it was just too much. When those groups start to get so large and there's thousands and thousands of comments and thousands of questions every day, it's too much. And then you have YouTube creators, they just go on and, you know, they basically become delusional. They have their mob and they look to destroy, or they're completely obsessed with me in the case.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's not true, Daniel. Basically, most people, I would say, now I know some creators always go over the top, but I think most people and their followers who report on true crime, they want to know what happened to Jack and Lilly. You know, they care about Jack and Lilly. You know, it's, I know, I mean, it must be, listen, if Daniel is innocent, it must be absolutely awful what he's going through. So we have to remember that, really.
I mean, what have you learned about the true crime community?
That it's absolutely vicious, and I said this word a lot, but obsessive. And it's a lot of those creators in the true crime community, it's like basically, you know, talking to like a barnyard animal, I guess you could say. They don't add any value other than just being there.
Do you feel at this point things are getting worse? Or has it eased up at any point?
The community it's becoming more aggressive with their conspiracies and theories due to my lack of engagement online. I've received numerous death threats, and Major Crimes has, you know, notified me on that. And, you know, they're working hard to basically get them under control. And
well, obviously that's not right, is it? There's no point in threatening death threats and stuff like that. You know, there are a lot of crazies out there, aren't there? And we see that with this Nancy Guthrie case, this poor woman who's been abducted. You know, and the possibility of, you know, is this ransom note genuine that's been issued for her? But one person has already been arrested for giving a false ransom note. There are a lot of crazies out there as well. So it's not fair to threaten Daniel or whatever, because at the end of the day, we wouldn't like it if it was us. Everybody is innocent till proven guilty. He's not even been charged. But we can still have our views and our opinions. But yeah, threatening him with death is not good.
Find out who's doing them.
How are these death threats coming in?
I mean, I get them daily on my phone. That's a normal thing, but Major Crimes was aware of them. I'm not sure if they came in for tips, call-ins, or some other way, but they didn't want to dive into that. They're pretty limited on what they can tell me about any of it. I mean, basically because, they don't want me to get worried and everything like that, but pretty serious stuff, I guess.
How are you dealing with that?
I'm dealing pretty well with it because, nothing really scares me in that aspect. It's been 8 months and I don't really put much thought into where much, I don't recognize it as, having any impact on my life personally. But I imagine a lot of individuals are probably scared for me, I guess, because, they care about me. But for me personally, I just see it as another rock that skips off the water. There still is, people with big hearts out there and open minds, but they're not on there posting. But I do have loyal supporters, and I appreciate every single one of them.
So now that we're coming up, getting to 9 months in this investigation, what's your sense? Where do you think the case stands?
I think the case, it's moving forward, but there is so much information to, really, examine and really go through before you can complete this part of information, then move to the next. And I mean, there's so many tips being called in, and then there's tips that are absolutely useless. Like when you see me out in public, don't call in a tip. I mean, that's just total nonsense, because you're slowing down the investigators and you're slowing down the social media team that they have.
Well, I think that's fair enough, and in no point in reporting him being out in public. I'm sure he's being watched anyway by the police, don't you think? I'd be very surprised if he wasn't being watched by the police. So yeah, he's going to be out and about. He's got to go shopping. He's going to go in the vape shop or wherever he goes. He's going to go and see his friends in town. So it's pointless to say, oh yeah, phone the police to say you saw Daniel Martel in town or whatever. I think this is a problem for the police as well, isn't it? When they're doing an investigation and tips are coming in, and so many, but the police don't know which one is going to lead to the solving of the case or not. So they have to examine every single one, and some of them will be ridiculous. But they still have to follow up that lead, because if they didn't follow it up, and then it turned out that it was crucial, they'd be in trouble that way as well. So yeah, there's a lot of time wasting goes on in these cases.
And, or the guy checks the tips and he reviews the tips. I mean, you slow him down when you're just putting in tips that say, well, we've seen Daniel at a gas station buying a Gatorade, because that has happened.
Right. Wow. What would you like to see happen with this case?
I would like to see it closed and Lilly and Jack found safely, and someone is charged with criminal offenses.
Yeah, I'd like to see them found safely and someone is charged with criminal offences. What criminal offence? What? It's funny what he's saying, I think. He's saying he thinks it's something criminal, but he hopes that they'll be found safely. Anyway.
Because that's what you think will be the result here.
Yeah.
You don't think they're in the woods?
No.
Have your own theories shifted at all along the way?
They have, but they always come back to what I originally thought. after I just, go over all the information so many times or lay in bed and go over everything in my mind from the very beginning to where it is now. The theories in my mind change, but I still have to go with what RCMP say because they have the most information on the case. And I know that's their job to bring justice for Lilly and Jack.
Yeah, now I'm sure he is up every night thinking about it. He's probably got a lot to think about, but yeah. There was something I was going to say then and it's gone. Oh, God, that's so annoying. Anyway, it's gone. It'll come back to me. Yeah, so that's the video of Daniel and what he had to say. And, this part of me still feels sorry for him because he hasn't been charged, but he's been hung, drawn and quartered by the court of public opinion, hasn't he? So if it does turn out, oh, that's right. What one says, how does he know they're not in the woods? Because that was, they could still, even the police officer said, well, he doesn't think they're still in the woods, but there's always a possibility. Daniel didn't say that, did he? He just said, no, I don't think they're in the woods, so anyway. So we're going to watch one more video about Jack and Lilly, and this is a video of the friend.
Ahora en Domino's.
Just eat a pizza.
What's she doing?
These are Malaya's friends talking. I still won't go to full size, but anyway. So, friends of missing children's mother describe life before the disappearance.
She's just.
Oh, and by the way, this is CBS News Nova Scotia. I thought I was subscribed. But anyway, there you go. There you go.
Trying to take it day by day.
So, Angeline, you've been friends with Malaya since childhood.
Yep.
And Cheryl, you're a friend, but also very close family as well. Can you walk me through May 2nd when you learned they were missing?
I learned on a Facebook post. Me, my sister, and my friend were fishing, and I just happened to scroll Facebook, and I saw the post from the RCMP that Lilly and Jack were missing, and we decided we would go over and help look for them. Before we got there, we thought that they would have been found. These situations are usually resolved quickly.
How would you describe the scene that day?
Chaotic. It was very chaotic. It was busy. A lot of people, neighbors, friends, all kinds of different search and rescue. It was very stressful.
And that was your first time there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you walk me through when you learned about their disappearance? Where were you?
I was at work when I learned about it. The notification popped up on my phone. I don't think I looked at it right away because I didn't look too deep into it. But then my coworker at lunchtime, she brought it up and she started reading like the whole thing out loud. And when she said the two names, I was like, hold on, like, wait a minute. And I just grabbed my phone and called Malaya. And I was like, are your kids missing? And she said yes. And she was very upset. Like, you could tell through the phone that she had been crying about it.
Yeah, and you were working. Did you go there that day?
I didn't that day, no.
And Cheryl, I mean, for you, you were there. How was she doing that day?
And there was a lot of ups and downs. I think herself, she thought that the kids were going to be found and that it was going to be resolved fairly quickly. And I don't think it really set in until later that night that, something wasn't right.
And so the blanket that was found, were you there when that was found?
I wasn't there when the blanket was found, but I was taken to where the blanket was found, and it was still in the tree at that point when we had walked up.
Can you walk me through that? What was the blanket? What was the deal there?
It was just a piece of Lily's blanket. I guess it was used to cover a hole that was in like the window or door where cold air was coming in. And the piece that was in the blanket was hung over the back railing, and the other piece was thrown out after they were done using it, I think late spring. And then it was found in the tree a couple kilometers up the road.
What did you think about that?
I found it odd, very odd, that it would go from the house to the tree.
I'll ask about the boot print. So, Angeline, you've been...
Yeah, this thing about the blanket's definitely a plant, that blanket, isn't it? How did it get from the bin or wherever it supposedly have got from to the tree? They're going to go on in a minute. How long is this video? I think we've got time to, or maybe not got time to watch it all, but the boot prints, you know, there was a cluster of boot prints, but there were no footprints leading up to it or away from it. It just seems to me that somebody got a boot and just went like that all the way around. Anyway, they'll talk about that.
Fixated on this case and know the details. What do you make of the boot print that matches Lily's foot size and boot print?
It was a clump of them. It wasn't like a trail leading up to like a set of footprints walking up anywheres. It was a clump.
Oh, so it was multiple footprints, not just one? Oh, okay. What's your impression of that, Cheryl?
Kind of the same as Angeline. When you find a cluster of footprints just in the middle of the road, you're kind of looking around wondering where the other footprints leading up to this cluster is, and there wasn't any.
And so these things, the blanket, the boot print, seem odd to you both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't.
So in terms of the RCMP,
you just can't get into the middle of somewhere, and you know it feels like, yeah, you'd get a boot, go like that, or a pair of boots. Where are the footprints leading up to those boots, to those cluster of boot prints? And that was the same with Gus Lamont, wasn't it? One boot print found. It's always a bit suspicious, I think.
investigation. Angeline, we'll start with you. What's your take on where that stands?
It's been slow. I don't know why it's been slow. Like, I don't know if it's because of the lack of evidence they might have, or if it's just because it's like a really peculiar case. I'm sure that's part of it. I'm just wondering, like, if they were able to step back and look at it from like maybe more of an abduction, like something more criminal, if they would make any more headway than what they have by viewing it as a missing persons case.
Do you believe it's criminal?
I think it's a possibility, and I do think that they should look into it so that it can be ruled completely off the table.
How would you describe the mood that day?
It was different. It was kind of odd, I guess. For the situation, I didn't really know what to expect. It was different.
How was it odd?
A lot of controversy, a lot of family issues, a lot of family dynamics. Like I said, it was my first time over there. Never met anybody over there. Just didn't feel very welcoming.
Do you want to speak to why you hadn't been over there?
Kind of lost touch with Malaya after she had moved over there. And I feel bad about not keeping in touch with her, but I didn't know how else to get a hold of her.
What were you?
Yeah, now she says I'd lost it. Now people do lose touch, don't you? You do lose touch with your friends if you move out the area or whatever it happens. It's not always a sinister reason. But then it seems odd to me then that, you know, if you lost touch with your friend, and you hadn't been in touch with him for, I don't know, a year, let's say, would you go right over there instantly? Maybe that. Anyway, let's see what they say.
Were you surprised about when you got there?
The conditions that the kids were living in.
Yeah.
Things that we had learned through looking for the kids.
Yeah.
A lot of the speculation has been,
I think that's a big thing, isn't it? Because Belinda said that, the maternal grandma did. She said she could not believe the state of the property. And she said that Malaya was always very meticulous, clean, and she could not believe the state of the property that the children were living in. And now this friend has said the same thing. So you know what your friends are like. Maybe your friends are housewife of the year, but if you go over their house, if you go over to your friend's house on a regular basis, generally what condition they keep their house in. It might not be spotless, but you would notice if you went in and it was an absolute shithole, wouldn't you? That's how I feel with this. Something's happened to Malaya since she got involved with Daniel, and that could be drugs, that could be just giving up on things because she's under this coercive control. People just lose, all sense of identity, don't they, of who they are and what they're doing. So that's not only the friend who said that, but Belinda said that too. She could not believe the state of the place.
Why did Malaya and her family leave and not come back?
Mm-hmm.
Anything you'd like to say about why that decision was made?
She had left because we weren't leaving her there.
What concerned you the most?
Just the condition of the house. I mean, I know that not everybody has a fancy house, not everybody is rich, but there's things that you can do to improve your living conditions. Yeah, because she never grew up that way. Her mom always had a nice clean house, and her grandmother always had a nice.
Yeah, it's so true. Not everybody's got lives in a palace, but you know what? Sometimes people who live in palaces or big houses, they're live in a pigsty too. Do you know what I mean? But you can always make your house as nice as you can make it. So that was interesting, wasn't it? What she said that Malaya left because we weren't going to leave her there. So these are not only friends; these are pretty close friends. Imagine turning around to your friend saying, "We're not leaving you here. You come in with us." You'd have to be quite a good friend of them, wouldn't you, to say that? If it's just an acquaintance, you wouldn't dream of trying to interfere in their lives to that extent. And it's a very strange thing to me that when your children go missing, the very next day you leave before they've come back. So this is interesting what the friend is saying, that part of the reason was that they said, "We're not leaving you here."
Clean house too, and that's how she was. That's what she was.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm very familiar with her too. Like, I'd be going over and she'd be in the middle of cleaning or doing some type of chore for the day.
And so how are you supporting her now through this?
She has been here pretty much every day since the kids went missing.
Oh, that's interesting.
Hola chicos, me cuelo por aquí para contarte un cuento. Un cuento fácil, un cuento lleno de pequeños detalles. Un cuento que habla.
That's interesting. She's been with them.
We just try to help her and guide her in the right direction and give her the hope that the kids will be found.
Yeah, the support that she needs to navigate it, either emotionally or just us being there, talking about what she could do and how it might be a benefit.
Yeah.
How is she doing?
Not great. I've noticed a significant decrease in her weight since the kids have gone missing. She's just trying to take it day by day.
Okay. And so how did the rest of that week go?
It was hard, especially the 6th day when they scaled back the search and gave the briefing that they did. It was hard to hear that, but we never gave up the hope of finding them. And we still don't.
And I understand there was a request for an Amber Alert.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
We had asked for an Amber Alert a few hours after the kids had went missing, and we were told that they were working on it. So they had to send it to their supervisor, whoever deals with the Amber Alerts, and it come back saying that it didn't meet the criteria because apparently you have to have like a suspect or reason to believe that they could have been abducted. So all we got was a vulnerable missing person alert, and it only went to Pictou County, Antigonish, and Truro, I believe. So it didn't even go like Nova Scotia wide, just those 3 areas. So that was pretty disappointing.
So you were told there would be an Amber Alert coming?
Yeah. They said they were we'd ask them every hour, and a lady would tell us that they were working on it. And then we never got one. We were disappointed, but it also gave us reason to think that they thought they were in the woods and that they were going to be found and that nobody took them.
And you've both been out there. We met at the volunteer search back in November. What were your impressions going back to the scene then?
I almost felt sick. We were hoping that we would be able to find them, to have some type of closure to the case. But being out there gave us a little more insight of the area, where it wasn't as busy that day as it was on May 2nd. So we were able to really look around and get a feel for, what the woods was really like.
And so leaving there, what did you feel?
We felt a lot of disappointment, but also a lot of relief. We didn't find them, so it gave us hope that they're still okay.
Did you leave there with the impression they weren't in the woods?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I don't think they're in the woods, but who knows?
You go through the woods with the lens of 2 little children navigating that, and whether that would be possible?
We did, like the cliffs and the hills and the water, and the amount of times that we had fallen. A number of us fell. There was a few injuries through different teams. Yeah, it's hard to think that they could have navigated any further than a kilometer, really.
And so now that we're more than 8 months into this case, how is everyone doing with this?
It seems like it gets worse every day.
Frustration comes to mind, especially when you sit there and you kind of feel like your hands are tied, and how much that you can do. Like, how many times can you go out and search a woods? You feel limited on the types of things that you can do.
What keeps you up at night?
I feel like it's just trying to piece together like what happened, because if maybe you could figure that out, then like you would know where they might be, but it's just the not knowing.
Yeah.
We don't really have any direction.
Yeah, let's just have a little think about that. What did happen? So if we presume that Daniel maybe has had something to do with the disappearance of Jack and Lily, well, the whole family was seen out and about, weren't they, on CCTV the day before, and it seems that they returned home around about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometime between 4 o'clock in that afternoon when they arrived home and when Malaya called the police dispatched the next day to report the children missing. Somewhere in that time, something happened to these children. And was it, would they not go to bed? Was it a thing of anger, like, being angry with them because they weren't behaving? Was it an accident? Did they get hold of some drugs? And, some drugs look like sweeties, don't they? What happened? Let me know what you think. Even if, you're convinced that Daniel had something to do with it, well, he won't have deliberately killed two children. I doubt very much if he would have woke up that morning and thought, I'm going to kill the two children today. Something happened to precipitate what happened to Jack and Lilly. Whether it was an outburst of anger, or as I say, an accident, and then Daniel decided he was going to cover it up. And do you think Malaya knows what happened to Jack and Lilly? Because it always strikes me strange as well, is that very early email sent to the school the next day saying that Jack and Lilly wouldn't be at school. That was sent about 6 a.m. So, that's either someone who stayed up late and maybe never even gone to bed, or somebody who's gone to bed early and got up early, which Malaya said she did do. She said she went to bed at 9. Now, we don't even know. I'm still not sure that it was Malaya that sent that email, just because it came from her parents' account. If Daniel's just told us that he could go on her phone and she could go on his phone. They didn't keep things secret from each other. So if there was a password you had to put in to go in to contact the school to say your children were ill and they weren't coming, who knows if it was Malaya who did it, or was that Daniel, after his night of driving around up and down disposing of the children and evidence, did he then think, oh, I know what I'm going to do now, I'm going to let the school know they're not coming in and they're not feeling well? And if they were not feeling well, why were they allowed outside to play? They're supposed to be ill. And then, of course, Daniel said he saw Lilly put her head through the door and he could hear them talking outside. We don't know Malaya's account really properly of what happened, do we? Because it's Daniel who's been the most vociferous.
So we're not sure which way to go. There's a lot of components to this case, and you worry about if you're missing something, or if you know something that's, little that could matter.
What's not adding up for you?
The whole case.
The whole case. Oh, no, another advert. So when they get near the end, they start putting even more adverts
on. The different stories we've heard over the last several months, if you don't know what happened, then there shouldn't be any stories. It should be, I don't know. And yeah, that's very frustrating when you have so many different people telling so many different stories. It makes it hard to figure out what really happened.
Let's dive into that. So stories are being shared, lots of speculation online, particularly YouTube shows.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What's that been like?
The internet can be a great thing, but it also can be a really terrible thing. We have met some really great people through this whole tragedy, and we've also met some really mean, nasty people. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of theories, a lot of blame. Yeah, it's been really hard.
It's definitely toxic is the word to use, and frustrating. It can take away from the main point of the case. But at the same time, at the end of the day, I guess you don't know what little thing might come up on there that could actually benefit it.
How has it affected your life?
Probably in the fact that it's can be time consuming.
I've had people post my address online. I've had people sit across the road, take pictures of my house, just a lot of nasty things. In the beginning, a lot of people blamed us for having the kids. A lot of people don't know the dynamics around the situation and know that we didn't speak to Malaya for almost 2 years prior to the kids going missing. We didn't know where she lived.
For you, Angeline, seeing your best friend going through that.
2 years they didn't speak. That's more or less the time that she was with Daniel, isn't it?
What's that like for you?
It's definitely highlighted how seeing how her world has like turned upside down. It's where I look at the social media a lot. It's seeing the lack of like empathy or like the lack of people wanting to be open-minded and understanding and like constantly blame her. I find that's what really bothers me the most. But at the end of the day, like they don't know her. I know her. I'm a stranger to them. Like, how are they going to trust me?
Personally, I think women always get a lot of vilification. The woman always gets more vilification, and from other women, it happens a lot, unfortunately. You know, I think we expect mothers to be almost perfect beings, don't we? So, God forbid anything ever happens to my son. He'd be like, oh, well, she did this, she did that. You know, none of us are perfect mothers, are we? We do, you know, we try our best to bring up our children and do everything we can for them, but we do make mistakes. It's easy to put spotlight on mistakes in hindsight, I think. I mean, I don't know what's happened in this case. From what we can gather up to when she met Daniel, she was a good mother, and something, you know, unless you get into a relationship like that with someone who is coercive controller, or, you know, they do bring you down and you do go down into depths, and sometimes you don't, but it doesn't happen overnight, does it? You know, you don't wake up one morning and think, oh God, you know, these kind of people like Daniel, if he is a coercive controller, they chip away away at you. I once heard someone call it's like peck, peck, peck. You know, they're pecking at your head all the time, bit by bit. They start off with the love bombing and the this, that, and the other. Everything's brilliant and lovely. You think, oh, great, you know, I've met this man who's going to be a brilliant dad for my kids, and blah, de, blah, de, blah. And then bit by bit, peck, peck, peck. Before you know it, you're in the bottom of a great big deep hole and you don't know how to get out of it. And that might well be what happened to Malaya, you know. So until we know what happened, we should be a bit more sympathetic, because at the end of the day, this woman, her children are missing, and she's lost her other one as well, because the baby's there.
My word. And you have people who turn around and say, well, you think you might know someone. So it feels like a never-ending battle, and she's not a bad person. She's not a bad mom.
Pensando en elegir un plan para y te ayudaremos a descubrir el.
It's nearly finished.
I guess if you know Malaya, you would know that that isn't out of the ordinary for her. That's just who she is. She was always quiet. She was never a confrontational person. She's like very shy. She only likes to talk to certain people. She doesn't like to broadcast herself. She's just, if you know her, then that's just the way she is. And I know that her behavior to a lot of people may seem odd, may seem different, and it may not be what a lot of people would do if their two kids were missing. But until you're in that situation, you really don't know how you would act. A lot of the speculation is towards Malaya, that Malaya knows where the kids are, that she had something to do with their disappearance. Some people have even gone as far as to say that she murdered them, or that they're on the reserve being hidden, which is absolutely insane. If people don't think that the RCMP haven't looked into that after 8 months, it's just beyond me.
And how does the intense spotlight internationally for this case contribute to that?
In some aspect, we think it's good because we want to keep them out there. We want people to see them, especially if somebody did take them and somebody just happens to see them and then sees that they're online, or if Jack and Lily are watching TV themselves and they see somebody and know that somebody's looking for them, that we're still looking.
Yeah. What would you like the public to know?
We'd like them to know that we're still looking for Jack and Lily, and just because we're not online broadcasting everything that we do doesn't mean that we're sitting behind the scenes not doing anything, because we've done our own searches, we've done posters, we've done, a lot of things behind the scenes, but we don't feel the need to have to tell the internet and the public everything that we're doing to keep their name out there. We're not looking for the attention. We're trying to keep the focus on Jack and Lily.
As the 1-year anniversary hovers there, what's the goal going towards that?
To hopefully find them before that. A year is a long time, and it's hard to believe we're almost at that point. It's hard not knowing. It's hard to think that they possibly could be in the woods and that we may have missed them, or that somebody took them and they could be anywheres after 8 months, or, the possibility of somebody hurting them. It just, all those things you think about constantly.
Do you ever have a day when you think, okay, this must be what happened? Or
all the time? Yeah. And then
does that change?
It does, yeah. You always see something new and you're like, oh, well, maybe this happened. And then you go back to square one, and yeah, we're almost at a dead end, basically.
But when it comes down to it, it's just not adding up?
No. It didn't from day one.
Cheryl, what's making you tear up right now?
It's just hard.
You try to hold it together.
Oh.
How much of your day is spent holding it together? I mean, you're there with Malaya constantly.
Yeah. When I'm at work, I'm okay.
You keep working to keep some level of normalcy.
Yeah. You have to.
What has this done to the family?
I feel like it's the only thing they think about.
Yeah.
Is when they'll have some kind of good news from the RCMP.
In an aspect, it's kind of brought everybody closer, and we all have one main focus, and it's to find Lily and Jack and hopefully find answers as to what happened to them.
Right. There you go. So it was interesting, that, wasn't it, listening to Malaya's friends talking. It seems like if she's not actually there living with them, she's definitely close by with them. They're in constant contact with her. I don't know how Malaya's putting one foot in front of the other, because, as I say, she hasn't even got Meadow. Obviously Meadow's been taken away as well. Because she lost 3 children just like that. Gone. You know, what do you think? Do you think Malaya is complicit? Personally, I don't, but I understand everyone has their view. I don't think Malaya is complicit, but I think she knows about Daniel and the way he is. This is my honest opinion, how I feel at the moment. Now, I could be wrong, and I'm so sorry to Daniel if I am wrong. It could be that somebody completely different has been responsible for what's happened to these children. As I say, it could have been somebody who was passing, abducted them, could be a neighbour. They could even still be there in the woods and just not been discovered yet for wherever it was they hid, or, you know, it's a very, very mysterious case. Well, as I say, it's similar to this case of Gus Lamont over in Australia, but that has been declared a crime and suspects have been identified. Is that what's going to happen here with Jack and Lily? You know, will the RCMP get their sort of ducks in a row, as he was talking about earlier, and find enough evidence to charge someone with something over the disappearance of Jack and Lily? Because little kids, they don't just disappear into thin air. Somebody knows where Jack and Lily are, and somebody knows whether they're still alive or not. And I just hope, you know, it gets found out. Hey, Mark. Yeah, I noticed you said Willow. Well, it'll be because, you know, until it's found exclusively what's happened to Jack and Lily, then of course there is a danger, isn't there? I suppose that's why. I don't know. But we don't know the ins and outs, do we, of why she's Meadow apparently is with social services. So, you know, yeah, I agree, David. I think it does look that way, but you know, sometimes, you know, why has he not been charged with anything? You know, why has he not been charged? Well, say with anything, he's been charged with the domestic violence, etc. But he's not been charged with anything to do with Jack and Lily. I feel that this case is going to break sooner or later, but you know, sometimes they don't, do they? Like Summer Wells. Is it going to be another Summer Wells, Sebastian Rogers? You know, we're whistling towards a whole year. It's been 9 months now that these little dots have, you know, been disappeared. Oh, I mean, I'd love to think, oh, they're going to be found, you know, reunited with their family, because not only Malaya, but their grandparents, etc., well, particularly Belinda. I think whatever's happened, I think Janie, if Daniel has had something to do with this, I think Janie must know about it, his mum. You know, how can she not have heard him driving backwards and forwards on that night? You know, how can she not? If he did, of course. So, yeah, we're going round in circles a little bit, but let's hope this case cracks sooner or later. I did feel when I was watching the police officers speak, I did feel that there's a lot going on. You know, don't forget, this is like the same with Gus Lamont. It felt like nothing was happening, didn't it? And now suddenly they've declared it a major crime and identified suspects. You know, it'll all be going on behind the scenes, and hopefully something will break sooner or later. Okay, thank you for watching. Thank you. Oh, Dave, sorry, Mark. So they've issued a statement on the news. Let's have a look. I know they've lawyered up. They said they're, oh yeah, I did see that. They said they're devastated, didn't they? They're devastated. Now, I will be doing another video about Gus, of course. You know, what they're going to say. Oh, yeah, we did it. They're not going to say that, are they? There's no way that the police in the Gus Lamont case, see how cautious the police are, particularly in Australia. There's no way that the police would have come out and said this about Gus Lamont's grandparents unless they were absolutely certain, that they know something. That's what I think, And they, of course, that they will come out and they will say, let's have a look. Yeah, let's just have a little look at it. They are going to say, of course, we're devastated. They're not going to say, oh, yeah, we did it, are they? But let's just have a look at this little news article. I tell you, there's so much going on at the moment. I could literally stay on all day, I think. Hey, come here. Good girl. I've got to finish in a minute, unfortunately, but...
They've maintained their silence for months. Now Josie and Shannon Murray have been left with no choice but to speak out, with their grandson Gus's disappearance declared a major...
Parents. Now, I think the police will have said that so that they do come and speak out. They want them to make a mistake, don't they?
Of missing 4-year-old Gus Lamont have broken their silence after police revealed they now believe he was killed by someone close to him.
Josie and Shannon Murray were the last people to see the little boy alive and say they're desperate to reunite him with his mum and dad.
They've maintained their silence for months. Now Josie and Shannon Murray have been left with no choice but to speak out. With their grandson Gus's disappearance declared a major crime, they've lawyered up.
Mr. I, has your client been formally charged?
I can't comment at this stage, I'm sorry.
What can you tell us about it?
Nothing at the moment, nothing that hasn't been already reported in the media.
Police believe Gus was either murdered or killed by accident and his body disposed of. They have a suspect, a family member who lives on the remote homestead where the 4-year-old vanished without a trace on September 27.
The Major Crime Squad do not declare a major crime just on a whim.
Detectives haven't revealed who the suspect is, but say it's not either of Gus's parents. The sinister twist leaving locals heartbroken.
He was a very nice little boy, very well dressed and always with his hanging onto his nan in his hand.
While Gus's grandparents have engaged separate lawyers, they issued a joint statement today, devastated by the media release of Sapole major crime. The family has cooperated fully with the investigation and want nothing more than to find Gus and reunite him with his mum and dad. Task Force Horizon detectives won't say if or when an arrest is likely.
7 News understands police were at the homestead on Monday using a helicopter to scour the property once more. But after 8 painstaking searches and still no sign of Gus, they're convinced if his body is here, it's most likely hidden from plain sight.
There'll be an absolute mad activity going on with the police. They'll be doing a massive amount of work,
including the forensic testing of devices and vehicles seized from the property. It's hoped those will help police solve this tragic mystery.
Everyone in town feels it.
In Yunta, Hanford, 7 News.
So that's the latest on the Gus thing. Now, as I say, there's no way the police will have declared. The police have done this deliberately because they know it will cause a great big kerfuffle. Those GMARs, my money would be on the GMAR that attacked or came out for the Daily Mail reporter with a shotgun. The thing is, I hope whatever happened to Gus, I would imagine it was probably an accident. Maybe it was a gun-related accident. If she's got bloody pump action shotguns lying around the house, Gus it'd be easy for a little boy to pick one up and start playing cowboys and Indians or whatever. So that's a possibility of what happened. I don't like to think that they did it deliberately, or whichever one of them it was that killed Gus, that it was a deliberate act. But you never know, because that happens too. You know, you can't always, you know, to me, I just think if your child died by accident, and children do die by accident, you know, accidents do happen. Look at little Ziello Marizuvo, who fell into the canal over in the UK, and his inquest has just finished, and it has been decided it was accidental death. And it was accidental death. So, you know, it'd be like, so his aunties were taking him for a walk and they let go of him for a minute and he's ended up in the river and he's died. Now imagine then just pretending that hadn't happened. Oh, I don't know what happened to him. 1 minute we got out the car and then he was gone, you know, like try and pretend it wasn't you who was responsible for him at the time that it happened. I can't imagine covering up for it. I really can't, because if it's a genuine accident, I know you'd be destroyed and you'd be heartbroken. You wouldn't, you know, because don't forget they're the GMAs, they're not the parents. You'd be terrified of telling the parents, you'd feel you'd let them down and blah, 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 blah. But how could you hide your grandson's body just to save your own skin? You know, I just think it's disgusting. And not only that, look at all the resources that have been used to look for Gus. It's probably cost millions, all the searches, the police efforts. When, you know, if it genuinely was an accident that Gus died, then they should have just owned up to it. You know, they've made it's almost worse to me what they've done afterwards, trying to pretend, you know, he just wandered off. It's even worse than, you know, because as I say, I hope that he wasn't murdered, you know, that it was an accident. They've got to come clean. They've got to come clean for the sake of but that's their daughter who's suffering because her son's disappeared and she doesn't know what's happened to him. How could they do that? Their own daughter. So don't forget, these were the two GMAs. One was GPAR, but he was transitioned over 10 years ago. He's the one, or she's the one. She came out with the bloody pump action shotgun to the Daily Mail reporter and said that she was just after a snake on the porch. Maybe she was trying to shoot a snake when she shot Gus by accident. You know, it's where these guns is always likelihood of problems, isn't there? But, you know, not only guns, accidents can happen. Kids of Gus's age, they get into all sorts of mischief, don't they? You know, that's what's happened with little Cielo. He's thought, oh, it's great, he's running off from his aunties. He's missed the step, which apparently they have improved that bridge now because it's difficult to see. You know, it's easy to fall down. So they have that bridge over there in Leicester, where Ziello died. They have done something about it now to make it easier, you know, to make it less likely for anyone to fall in. One positive thing. But there's a little 2-year-old, you know, never gets to see the rest of his life. But yeah, particularly little children like that, and Gus was 2 years older, they easily get into trouble. And that great big homestead, sheep station, there's probably loads of ways you could get into danger there. That's why his dad didn't like it there and said he didn't want the children there. And his dad was renovating a property, wasn't it, where they were all supposed to be moving to, because Gus has a little brother as well who was living there. So anyway, so I hope these women, you know, they tell the truth in the end, because I honestly just believe, I'm 99% certain one of them did it, because there's no way the police would have thrown out that bomb just for the sake of it. The police have done that because they are convinced. They said that the person's story just kept changing, there was inconsistencies, and then now they've withdrawn cooperation. Once someone withdraws, why would you ever withdraw cooperation from the police? Because if you're innocent and the police have got no way of pinning you down to any wrongdoing, you just wouldn't happen, would it? It's the biggest red flag ever when someone decides to stop cooperating. And to be honest, they've never cooperated that much, really, have they? They've never made public appeals. You know, they've never wanted it to be, oh, fine, Gus, or whatever. Anyway. Okay, I'm going. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Jack and Lily, especially because we've talked about them mainly today, but also little Gus. And let's see if there's a break in this case. And of course, the other case we're following is the Nancy Guthrie abduction. We'll see what happens there. But as far as my members are concerned, I'm going to be doing a members live tonight, probably 8 o'clock Spanish time. It'll be either 8 or 9, maybe 9 o'clock Spanish time. I'll see you then. Thank you for everything. Take care. Remember, you are the most important person. Look after yourself first, because otherwise you can't look after everybody else. So thank you. Take care. Love you all. Bye. Oh, and may your God go with you. Bye.